Hey guys, in this video I'll show you where to install your security cameras and what direction to point them in. Before you can point your cameras, you need to buy cameras, and before you can buy them you need to have a plan. So let's take a step back and have a beginner's approach and review why this plan is dependent on 4 factors. First of all, your budget. If you're a do-it-yourselfer like me and you want to keep costs low, then learn how these cameras work and install it yourself. The money that you'll save on having a professional install it, you can put towards better cameras. I've started off with 4 cameras and I've worked my way up and added a few more every year. Number 2, physical constraints. Have a look around your property and think about what's in the walls and how you're going to run wires. The corners of vinyl siding are a great place to hide wires. As I've mentioned in other videos, don't rely on wireless solutions. These systems still need power, so you might as well run an Ethernet connection and run electricity through that line using PoE. This will power the camera and transfer the data, so you don't have to worry about the wireless lag. If you have a strong Wi-Fi connection outdoors and no wired option for data, then wireless will have to do. Look at all the options you have outdoors. You can install a camera under your eaves, on trees, on fences, doors, gazebos, any sort of outdoor structure, lighting poles, trailers, who knows. Be sure to plan out where your NVR or router or switch is going to be located. This will help determine if you can run an Ethernet cable from the camera to that location. Become familiar with attic spaces and if you can get lines up inside of there.
I found a way to get a cable from inside of my attic
to this location here in my basement. So here is the panel where I can access my attic. There is a wire that runs from within the attic down to this light switch. So I drilled a hole right next to it where I passed my cables. And then the cables run down to this cold air exchange. And there's a little passageway about a foot inside that takes me straight to the basement. And that comes out right up here where I've entered this piece of conduit. So finding this passageway was a lot of work, but since I found it, definitely well worth it. Every property is different and is going to have its own set of challenges, such as trees covering your potential camera's viewpoint, brick walls, eaves that are too high or too low, inaccessible attics, and so on. Also, be sure to avoid any objects in your foreground which could blow out your night vision. If an eave or a downspout is next to your camera and in the picture, the image will look okay during the day, but at night the IR lights will reflect back and ruin your picture. Number 3, physical appearance. You have to ask yourself and probably your wife if it's okay to install the cameras on your home. If your home is dark colored and your camera is white, it'll probably stand out. I like the domes, they blend in nicely and you don't really notice them unless you're a thief or you're a camera junkie looking for cameras. Number 4, the camera's purpose. Why do you want to install these in the first place? Is it for security, in case there's a break-in? Is it to discourage thieves? Is it to keep an eye on your kids or your pets? Whatever the reason, this should dictate where your cameras are located. If you're concerned about someone entering from the back gate, then you'll probably have to put a camera covering that area. If contractors are doing work on your home and you want to keep an eye on them, then you're probably going to want to have it away from your property, facing your home. My goal was to cover the doors first, followed by the windows, followed by any common entry points to the property. After answering these 4 questions, let's get things mapped out. If you haven't done so, draw a quick overhead view of your property or look it up on Google Maps and print off the satellite view. With this map, you're going to want to note the areas that you want covered. Number 2, prioritize each of these zones based on the camera's purpose. Number 3, mark the possible camera locations. Even if you have 10 preferences and you're only buying 4 cameras, mark them all. Number 4, camera coverage. So let's talk about camera angles. When pointing a camera, you need to be aware of how much landscape is going to be captured. Cameras come with different lenses and they're not easily interchangeable. Most camera lenses are 4mm, but the range is from 2.8 very wide to 12, which is like a telephoto lens. The 2.8 is good for a tight area like a doorway or a porch, and the 12mm is good if you need to zoom in on a location far away from where the camera is located. I find that the 4mm lens is ideal and it covers about 70 degrees, which is roughly the same angle as the infrared light output. Number 5, go outside and actually position yourself where the camera could be to get a real point of view. Even take a picture with your cell phone to see what you want to capture. This will better set your expectations of what the security camera is going to be capturing, and it's an opportunity to note the coverage of any obstacles that will be in your shot. So now that you got things mapped out and you got a better idea of where your cameras could be installed, let's have a look at a few tips which could help you in positioning those cameras. First off, install your camera, if it's dome, downwards. A bullet or a turret camera can capture almost any angle, but with a dome you really need to consider the angle at which you're going to be installing it. If possible, mount the camera with the dome facing the ground. This way you can adjust the image, the right and left, no problem, and the up and down, no problem. If you mount it on a wall such like this, you don't have any more right and left, you only have up and down. In order to get right and left, you need to offset it, and then that means installing a bracket or a spacer. Number 2, watch your camera's back. I like to install cameras where they can see each other. I want to see people front on while they're coming and going. I also don't want to leave a camera exposed to getting vandalized. On my back deck here I have 2 cameras, one there, one there. The purpose of that one is to see the door. The purpose of that one is to see who could be coming towards the door. And if I stand here to vandalize this one, that camera there will pick it up. And this patio door cam allows me to capture faces. If you are only going to be installing one location at a doorway, then place it as close to the door as you can, pointing away so that you can capture anybody approaching that area and you can see them front on. Number 3, corners work best. Outside corners allow you to capture 2 entire walls for maximum coverage. Your camera should show just a sliver of each wall in your picture for maximum surveillance. Too much of the wall will interfere with your night vision. Inside corners are great too, and you only need one camera in most cases for those. Number 4, camera height. So your camera should be located between 8 and 10 feet high from the ground. Basically, cameras mounted more than 10 feet high are not going to capture faces very well. Cameras mounted lower than 8 feet are targets for vandals. Number 5, don't install a camera behind a window. If your camera has IR lights like this one does, if you mount it behind a window, the lights are going to reflect off the glass back into your camera and you're going to end up with 100% glare. Number 6, if you have any doubts about the location that you're going to be installing your camera, do a test install. Install the camera temporarily with one screw or just attach it to a ladder somewhere in a test location and then try it out and see if it works for you over the span of one day. If there's any glare from the sun or if there is any interference of another object from the night vision. Number 7, avoid the sun. Any camera that's pointed directly towards the sun is going to have issues with silhouettes. Your subject is going to be a black shadow because the iris of your camera is squinting. The only camera that I have pointing towards the sun is a fence cam, and I'm totally okay with that. I just like to have a view of the home and I have no other option. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and please feel free to share your setup with me. If you want to see what else I'm up to on my channel, please subscribe.